A General Assembly. This is where President Cyril Ramaphosa will be making his inaugural visit as a South African president at the two-day annual assembly that brings together various world leaders. Our correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease is there for us now. Sherwin, good afternoon.
It's a good morning here from New York, and of course just over my left shoulder we hope in the next couple of minutes that President Ramaphosa will be pulling up at his hotel here in Midtown Manhattan, of course here to lead the South African delegation at this year's United Nations General Assembly, and also a very big week for the South African delegation because of course a precursor to that general debate on Tuesday will be the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit, the inaugural Nelson Mandela Peace Summit, and of course the unveiling of a bronze statue which will be gifted by President Ramaphosa to the United Nations Secretary General and the President of the General Assembly. That will be happening first thing tomorrow morning. One of his first bilaterals today will be with the Executive Director of UN Women, South Africa's former Deputy President, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, but then he will, before that, take some time to rest and recoup after that long South African Airways transcontinental flight here to New York. But certainly a very big week for South Africa. The President, of course, here for the first time in his capacity as head of state. And some of the big issues will be very much to explain what South Africa's foreign policy positions are to an international audience. Of course, a great deal of interest in what South Africa's positions are, given the fact that they will be entering the UN Security Council on the 1st of January next year. Of course, crucial elections in the DRC in December. That might be a very big focus for them as they start their term in January. And then, of course, the general debate. And on Tuesday, which begins on Tuesday, he will speak on Wednesday evening, but also engage with business leaders here. Of course, part of that big $100 billion investment drive that has become so crucial to South Africa's economic growth moving forward.
Now, you've touched on some of the issues that are very important for South Africa and Africa as a whole. But what is the significance of this heads of state meeting for the country, our country, and the continent?
Well, you know, the Mandela Peace Summit is, and you'll just excuse there's a bus pulling away from here, so you might have some difficulty hearing me. The significance of this year in particular will, of course, be that it's the new administration of Cyril Ramaphosa, the first, time that the chief diplomat, the international relations minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, is here. So they really want to put a different stamp on what can be expected by the South African government. But, of course, a big focus here is the ability of the president on the sidelines of the meetings at the General Assembly is to meet with business leaders. He will be engaged in a investment forum as part of the Bloomberg Global Forum, which will be happening at the Plaza Hotel. There will be a meeting specifically focused on investing in South Africa, some of the trade issues that might be of concern. So the economic element here cannot be discounted in addition to the geopolitical side. Of course, he will meet with the Secretary General of the United Nations, the President of the General Assembly. I understand there are a number of bilaterals confirmed, although I can confirm that the bilateral with President Donald Trump has not been confirmed. We understand that a meeting between the International Relations Minister and the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, will happen sometime this week. And of course, don't they have a great deal of a few things to discuss, given the tweets by President Trump, particularly on South Africa's land reform program, and really the pushback that we heard from President Ramaphosa and his International Relations Minister. So wouldn't we all like to be a fly on the room when she does meet with Mike Pompeo later this week? So there's a lot of different things going on here which we need to stay abreast of.
Definitely not a pushback, South Africa, on the discussion of land and compensation without redress. But any other activities that the president is expected to partake during the UN gathering, off the record, not official?
Of course, there are a number of high-level meetings that happen in addition and on the sidelines of the debate. There's a big meeting on peacekeeping. You will know that South Africa has a number of battalions that serve in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the MONUSCO mission there. There are a great deal of concern about the conduct of some of South Africa's troops, and we understand that the Defense Minister, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, will be engaging with the head of peacekeeping, Jean-Pierre Lacroix. And of course, also a very big meeting that we want to focus on. And if I just look over my shoulder, I'm getting some indication that he might be arriving soon. One of the big meetings is also on tuberculosis. There's a high-level meeting that has been spearheaded by the South African delegation. They will adopt a resolution in terms of how the world is responding to tuberculosis. You know, the concern over the last decade has been countering the HIV AIDS pandemic around the world, and lost in that conversation has been how to eradicate tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is the disease that kills the largest number of people globally, some 1.7 million people. And what Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has done, has negotiated, certainly led by Team South Africa here, has negotiated a document as the President comes up that will eradicate or have countries pledge to eradicate tuberculosis by 2030. Let's listen in now. The President of the Republic of South Africa pulling up here at his hotel in New York. He will be exiting that car shortly, and we are happy to bring you those images live. We'll try and greet him. We'll try and shout out, "Good morning, Mr. President. Welcome to New York." Let's see if we get a response. That's the protocol chief accompanying the President. Welcome to New York, Mr. President. Good to see you, sir. There he is, going into his hotel. He'll meet a number of ministers that are awaiting his arrival. Let me get back in shot here. There you see the official photographer also writing. So your timing was perfect coming here. The President is safely in his hotel. He's going to rest for the rest of the afternoon. And as I mentioned earlier, that first bilateral that he's going to have later will be with the Executive Director of UN Women, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. And as I was saying, the tuberculosis meeting, a very important one for South Africa. They have been spearheading these negotiations. There will be a resolution adopted on Wednesday. President will speak there, and literally countries will be committing or recommitting themselves to eradicating tuberculosis by the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals deadline of 2030. So as I said, it's about the economy, it's about geopolitics, it's about South Africa's foreign policy. And if I forgot to mention, on Monday, tomorrow, the President will also be engaged in a conversation at the Council on Foreign Relations. He will be in conversation with the former United States Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright. Madeleine Albright, of course, the first lady to serve in that position ahead of Hillary Clinton in the administration of President Bill Clinton in the mid to late 90s. So a very interesting week, I imagine, in the days ahead.
Thank you, Sherwin. And as you said, caught him at the right time. That was our correspondent from New York, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, speaking, actually welcoming the President as he put his foot down in New York to address the United Nations General Assembly, and also his very busy schedule this week. Thank you, that's so much for joining us. That's a wrap from the news team. We'll be back.